Hi everyone. Today in my video, I'm going to talk about malaria from Human Health and Disease from NCERT Class 12 according to the Neet perspective. So, what is malaria? Everyone thinks like malaria is caused by just a mosquito bite. It is not so. It is actually caused uh, by a specific mosquito. We'll talk about it later. Before that, let me tell you something. People used to believe that malaria is caused because of where there is breeding of mosquitoes in like wet areas. Like they used to think that mal is foul and area means air, and where there is foul air, people used to get infected. But in real, actually, malaria is caused by a specific parasite that is called as a Plasmodium, which is a very tiny protozoan, which is responsible for this life-threatening disease. So it is a serious life-threatening and fatal disease which is caused by mosquitoes, and it is caused by specific protozoan called Plasmodium. And the person suffering with malaria usually have symptoms like fever, chills, and sweating. And there are 4 different types of Plasmodium. That is Plasmodium vivax, which is very common in India, and Plasmodium falciparum, Plasmodium ovale, and Plasmodium malaria. This Plasmodium vivax, it is also called as benign tertian malaria. It's also called as benign tertian malaria. So now coming to who found about that a specific type of mosquito is causing malaria. So what did Ronald Ross conducted an experiment? So what he did was, so suppose think this is a person who is already suffering with malaria. So this human being is already infected with malaria. And what Ronald Ross did was, he made sure that there are mosquitoes that are going to suck the blood out of already a malaria infected human. And then he found that in the stomach of this a specific mosquito, there is a parasite. And that specific mosquito is female Anopheles mosquito. Usually, female Anopheles mosquito feeds on blood, whereas male Anopheles mosquito only feeds on plant juices. It does not feed on blood. So the discovery made by Ronald Ross was in the stomach of female Anopheles mosquito, he found a parasite. Now coming to life cycle of Plasmodium. So what happens is this mosquito here, it is a female Anopheles mosquito. So when it bites a person, so bite from an infected mosquito, what it causes is this parasite, which is present on the mosquito salivary gland. So think this is tongue. Here there is lot of, so this is an infected mosquito. That is, it has already bit someone who has been infected with malaria and it has parasite in its saliva. So this form of the parasite is called as sporozoites. Okay, these are called sporozoites. So when it bites a human, so what happens is they attack, they travel through the blood and they first attack liver. Okay, so this parasite makes its way to the liver and they multiply there. So they multiply here collectively lot of times. Okay, and this is called as merozoites. And when merozoites are like, clustered, like collection of merozoites together, is also called as schizont. Okay, so a female infected Anopheles mosquito has sporozoites in its saliva, and when it bites a human, it makes its way all through the liver, and in the liver, it is called as merozoites. And in what happens here is collection of merozoites is also called as schizont. And after attacking the liver cells, now what happens is this breaks. The liver cells ruptures. Okay, now you can see something like this. And these merozoites now go into the blood again. So now they attack red blood cells in the blood. Okay, so when they attack red blood cells, what happens? So think that this is RBC, and then they are attacking here. So they keep on invading all the red blood cells. So if this is not treated, the person dies eventually. Okay, so they keep on multiplying several times. Then after multiplying several times through asexual reproduction, so in the RBC itself, what happens is it can replicate into a sexual phase also. So this was a asexual division, and this from now is a sexual division. So what happens is when this merozoite is like feeding on red blood cells, that is, it sucks up blood, that feeding stage is also called as trophozoite. That feeding stage is also called as trophozoite. After that, like, these merozoites replicate continuously in the RBCs, destroying all the RBCs, and then they differentiate into a sexual phase. So they are still in the RBCs, they did not go anywhere. Okay, so they replicate. So what do they really replicate as? So let me show you it clearly. So I'm talking about this stage in RBC itself. Sexual stage develop in RBCs, that is, these merozoites, they break from one RBC, infects all the RBCs, and then they change into female and male gametocytes. Okay, there is no fusion yet. There is fusion and forming of zygote only again later in the mosquito, which I'll explain. But right now the stages is, let me go through again for you guys. So here I'm talking about when it infects RBCs, it eventually infects all the cells in the RBCs, and few of them may change into a sexual form, that is female or male. Okay, and then what happens is eventually these attack everywhere and go into the surface of the skin. So when another mosquito that bites the human, that is going to bite the human, like it now here, when this mosquito bites this person, it ingests all the sporozoites. It ingests all of this into. So what happens here is there is a fusion of female and male, and then there is a formation of zygote. And then what happens is there is oocyst formation with lot of sporozoites, and then this oocyst bursts. So what did I really mean that, there is sporozoites in this mosquito is this stage. So let me again explain you so that there's no confusion. So when a mosquito bites, like this is an infected mosquito, bites a human, it is releasing all the sporozoites. Okay, and these sporozoites make its way to the liver, and here they divide a lot of times and form merozoites. Okay, and there is an asexual reproduction in the liver cells, Then from the liver cells, they enter the red blood cells. So once they infect red blood cells, eventually this is a feeding stage, and then the red blood cells rupture. So there is release of these merozoites. So these parasites reproduce asexually in the red blood cells. So here what happens is, here are the symptoms where you can notice fever and chills. Okay. And in the red blood cells, what happens is there might be a sexual stage. It can, after replicating for so many times, it undergoes a sexual phase where there are like female and male gametocytes. But the fusion of this, where does it occur? So what happens is, after there is formation of female and male gametocytes, these all stages, like they keep on replicating to the blood, and then they enter the surface of the skin. And when this mosquito here bites the person, it injects the whole of it. And when it injects the whole of it, what happens is there is fertilization inside the mosquito. So wherever sexual phase is taking place, it is called as primary host. So mosquito is the primary host and human is the secondary host. But in the Neet, it's a most frequently asked question: what is the primary host and who is the secondary host? And primary host is mosquito and secondary host is human. But there is a question, which is the clinically, uh, where can you notice symptoms clinically? So it's not in the mosquito that you notice symptoms like headache, fever, and chills. You notice it in human. So this is one of the point that I wanted to make clear. And then let me come back to it. So when the mosquito bites, so what happens? These all things enter it, and internally there is formation of zygote from fertilization of female and male, and there is zygote formation and there is oocyst formation. So there are a lot of new sporozoites here, and these oocyst bursts, like this is the oocyst that bursts, releasing sporozoites. And then again there will be like this mosquito will go and bite another human, and the cycle keeps on continuing. So now coming to symptoms, like I said, there is a lot of chills and there is a lot of fever, and sweating also. There are complications of this malaria is, you can notice splenomegaly, that is nothing but enlargement of spleen, and you can also see enlargement of liver, that is hepatomegaly, and there is renal failure. So there is renal failure, and there is high fever as well as jaundice. So these are the complications. But the three main symptoms is headache, fever, and sweating. The treatment for the malaria is, it is preventable and treatable disease actually. So the primary objective of the treatment is to first, if like this is a person who is infected with malaria, you want to get the parasite completely out of the person's blood, or else like it will lead to death and a chronic infection, that is malaria related anemia. So why does it lead to malaria related anemia? Because like I explained, it destroys all the RBCs, so the person will die due to anemia. So the first primary objective is to remove the parasite completely. And from a public health perspective, the treatment is to reduce the transmission. And how do you do that? By reducing the reservoir. So by spraying insecticides, keeping clean surroundings, and making sure like um, there is no spread and there is no reservoir for all these mosquitoes. And also there is anti-malarial drugs that the doctor would prescribe when a person suffers with malaria. So I hope you guys have understood all about malaria, what causes malaria, and what is the life cycle, and what are the symptoms and treatments. Thanks for watching my video, and if you guys have any questions, please leave it in the comment box below. And please like, share, and subscribe my video. Thanks for watching.